Hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Diana Lizon, and this is a fantastic day in our community, the Boston Healthcare Technology User Group. Um, so today, uh, I want I want to share some good news with all of you. But first of all, for all those who are new in our channel, so we are a community that is based locally in Boston, but with a global impact. We are holding meetings in hybrid model now. So that's one of our first news today. So we're starting to meet this month, the last Wednesday of the month. We will meet at the Microsoft offices in Burlington, Boston, close to the Boston area, I mean, Massachusetts. So we are so excited. We can't wait to see you in person. But we will keep our virtual streaming. So don't worry about if you are not in the Boston area. You will still have all the content in our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook. So no worries about that. So that's really exciting. And so we want to thank to Real Activity as usually for all the sponsor and support that we receive. So sharing this real quick, don't forget to visit our website, BOSHUG.com. You can find all kind of different resources that we have in our content and past meetings as well. If you maybe miss one of them that you really wanted to attend, all this is available on demand, so no worries. We also have a Discord server, so this is really cool because we have a lot of interaction with the community there and discussions, forums, and you can always send any question anytime. So you can see on the screen the URL. If you want to join to this, you are very welcome. Also, one of our announcements for today is that we want to share with you the next Modern Healthcare Conference. It is happening on July 13 to July 15 this year. So it's going to be in Chicago at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Will be so fun. The topic the mainly focus of the conference this year, it's about, like obviously all the healthcare topics that you can find in the industry, but you will see lots of women. So it will led by women in the industry, which I think is really cool. And I'm so excited about that too. So you can see on the screen the link for the conference. If you are interested, you can still get some tickets if you want to support sponsoring or just be there for fun and learn something new. You guys are all very welcome. We'll see you soon in Chicago. Well, yeah, so these are the things I want to share today real quick before we start. So the topic for today, it's the cross-industry standard process for data mining in health. So we have our guest here.
Hello, everybody.
Gustavo. So we have Gustavo Galviato
Nice to meet you.
today, joining from Brazil. So Gustavo, would you mind to introduce yourself? Tell us
No,
a
sure.
little bit of you. What city are you at? Maybe we can visit sometime.
Sure. I am a data scientist in healthcare, in a health tech startup. I develop most of the models for the business areas of the health companies. I don't have much experience with clinical cases, But I believe this presentation will help a lot some of you understand how to implement fast and quickly models to get a fast return. Well,
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I'll let you start the presentation. I'll be here in the background, but feel free to send your questions and feedback as well. So, yeah, so excited. Okay.
Let's go. Well, the agenda for today is pretty simple. First, I will remember some important points about machine learning today. I will talk about CRISPR-Dem overview for someone for someone that don't know exactly what it is. The application in machine learning, the steps of and iterations of the methodology, key points to review to have a good performance, and other approaches you can use. And I will talk about why I prefer the CRISPR-Dem over other approaches. Well, first important point to remember, 15%, at least 15% of companies not have success to deploy machine learning projects. And this is worry information because you have to make the deploy. You invest a lot of money to develop a model and you do not deploy it, you are losing your investment. And what this happened in some cases, because the deployment was not successful, the model have low accuracy, but I think the most important point is a lot of companies are starting the machine learning journey. There are a lot of people doing machine learning, but they do not know how to do it or how to implement it. And this is a problem. This presentation wants to help reduce these harming, these worries, statistics. Let's keep going. Other important information is 75% of commercial machine learning projects, the time a data scientist spent is cleaning and organizing data. And why this happened? Because in most cases, we have a really hard environment with fuzzy data, with a lot of mislabeling data, and this take a lot of time to organize and to correct. If you don't have a good data set, you will not have a good model to find patterns and do machine learning as it need to be done. And this is other reason why CRISPR-Dem is a good tool, because it's really focused on data, and most of the time in a machine learning project is spent on data. A good lemma to remember in this case, and it helps a lot to orientate some decisions. It's make it work first. And what this means? Start simple. Start with a simple concept. Use not too complex model to develop. Do a easy pipeline, because you need first to deploy as fast as you can to see how it works. Next step, you do it right. Use the best model you have. You spend a lot of time training the models in the cloud. You do a solid pipeline to prevent bugs. And in this point, you have the best performance you can have. And for finish it, you just make it optimal. And what is that? You improve the speed of the processing of the model. You customize it, and you develop a contingent plan. If something not work correctly, how you react and correct as fast as you can. This is a quote of Ken Beck, but it worked pretty well in machine learning projects, and it's one of the choices of this methodology? Well, let's talk about the cross-industry standard process for data mining. Well, it's a data-focused process. It has 6 steps. It's further developed for data mining, but you can't make some change to it fit well in machine learning projects. And it's an old methodology. It's from 1996, and still a lot of industries use it for data mining, and you need a little, just a bit of corrections to be applicable to machine learning projects. And why choose CryptoDM for machine learning project? Well, it fits well because it can start simple and improve in iteration in the cycle. And there's a lot of other methodologies from IBM and Microsoft that work really well, but when you are starting, it's better start with a simple methodology, because the first thing you need is to deploy, is to show some results. Then you can improve. It's a bad idea to try to do a moonshot, because the chances you will fail and you will fall in the 50% of companies that do not have success in deploy models, it's high. I will talk more about other methodology in the end. And a big point that I like is the cyclic iteration in critical points. What does it mean? There's point you can cycle between phases, but after you pass some checkpoints, you can go back. And why this is important? Because if you always go back in some points, you will never finish the model. You will never have a fast deploy, and the deploy is the most important phase, because sometimes you have a high accuracy, but the model do not work well. That's why I like to do as fast as I can a deploy. If it has a low accuracy, there's some tricks that you can use to deploy it and do not have a bad result. Of course, there's a lot of cases. I do not recommend you deploy a model for a clinical case that involves the health of the patient. But in a business case, it's much easier. You can do more tests. Well, let's keep going. Well, the first step is the business understanding, and this is pretty obvious. You need to understand what your problem or your objective. Why that? Because if you understand wrong the point, you will build a solution for a problem that does not exist. If your objective is reduce costs or increase revenue, you have to understand if the proposition you are doing will truly do that. As a situation is about understand what is happening in this and what could happen to change everything. The COVID-19 disease changed everything in your way to do things, and every forecast model do not work anymore. You have to understand that risks in these steps. Determine data mining goals and metrics. What will be a successful results when we can stop to improve the model. This is an important metric for stop investing money in something that you already achieve. And project planning. I did one more step that is pretty important that needs to be repeated. It involves stakeholders. I had some problems with this point because sometimes not all stakeholders in the project are involved. And this is a big step because you can develop a model, really complex, perfect, it has amazing results, but when you deploy it, the people in your operational level that will use it do not use it. They do not like it, they feel they do not believe in the model, or the model can sometimes harm the habits they culture. And this is a point that need to be inside. Well, next step is data understanding. We collect data, we describe it, read dictionary about the description. It's important to understand how much data we will use in the next steps, explore data, find statistical points, and verify the quality of the data. If you have a lot of missing data, we have mislabel and other small points. And this is, and here we are, interaction between business understanding and data understanding. And this is important because we can understand if we have all data necessary to develop the model. Sometimes we want to build a model, but we don't have historic data enough to do that. We can we can buy more data to do the tasks, or change the main goal to something we have data to develop. And data has changed over time is an important point too, because it's not a normal change. There is some abrupt change in the data, because if it happens, you can use historical data because your properties of your problem has changed. As COVID case, everything had changed from this pandemic to now. Some historic data will not be as useful as it was. And this is an important point to understand. And adaptability and maintainability is needed in the problem, because if it's needed, because you need to retrain your model at month, or you have to correct some problems in data every week, because the property of the data has this nature. You have to reconsider your costs and your budget to develop the model, and sometimes you need to change your approach. Well, after the cycle, you can go back in the data understanding. We are here in data preparation. So, with the information we get in the first impression, we will work only with that information. Of course, in this process, we will find a lot of more insights to understand, a lot of more. We're gonna want to add a lot of new data in the model, but it's not a good choice, because you need to first do a deploy. Because if you don't do that, you always going back, and you will not meet a deadline. For my experience, in data preparation, we select the data that we will use precisely. We made some pipeline steps, like cleaning data, construct features, integrate a lot of data sets we have, format data. Always is a good idea to versioning that data that you use. It's not only code and pipeline that you need to versionate, because it makes a big difference when you are documenting and understanding what happened between tests, and create a pipeline to have a standard in your process. The model phase is about choose the techniques that you use. In the first iteration, I really recommend start small, use a simple metrics, a naive approach to have a baseline. Then after that, you can improve in each step. It's an important point to remember, guys. Generated test design, it's the part that you support, that you split your data set in train and test, build the model, and test the model. This point, you will only validate the data with the training data sets. In the next iteration, in the evaluation, we will test effectively to see if our model are performing well. Before the evaluation, we have the other iteration here, that is the data preparation and the modeling. And this iteration is important because sometimes you have to go back to change some things. Bias versus variance is an important point. In health case, it's not a good idea to pass a bias like racial or gender that bias at your model, because this will have a big ethical problem for your organization. And when you are modeling, you will start to find, to suppose some problems, and you have to go back to correct, like you have see a lot of cases in some companies that use some features that in BSZ the model to privilege some gender or some race or some other features required. Model requirements. Some models work with different treatment data. Example is XGBoost do not need to fill missing values. It's handle missing values automatically. Then if your pipeline you already choose a strategy to fill missing values, you have to go back and change to make the XGBoost perform better in the data set. And insult about new processing. When you are developing and seeing some results, you start to have insights about the data and more data that will help to improve your model. You can go back to the data preparation step, but you can't go back to that understanding. You can't explore more data or find more relation because, as I already said, you have to deploy as fast as you can. Well, let's do the evaluation one step before the deploy. Here we will find the results. We're going to test your model in your test database, a database that he never seen, to see how it perform. This is an important step because here we had some metrics. If you meet your goals, or if you need to change your metrics for the problems. This step is important because if you have a bad accuracy, you cannot deploy your model, but you can have some strategy to increase the precision of the model in some classification problems to make at least a deploy. Because if there are no big consequences for a mistake in the deployment results, you should deploy it. In the CRISP-DM methodology, they determine next steps is just if you will work some steps or if you will to deploy and conclude your project. The deployment, you plan to deploy, a pipeline to deploy, the documentation to maintain, the maintenance and the feedback you will get from. You have to deploy, but you have to monitor how you are working, if the model are truly bringing back cost reductions or some revenue. And the last two is if you are in the final iteration, the optimal point to just do a final report and close the project. Well, this is the steps. I don't have much time to go deeper, but let's keep going. Key points to perform well with these two. Understand the objective and its subparts. Sometimes it's better to approach a subpart of the problem first than to try to do a complex modelation that can have a lot of problems in subparts tasks. A possible trade-off in play, you have to know what are the trade-offs you have. How much money should you invest to expect a revenue? Some big models like Microsoft has developed. It has a high amount of money invested, and it's not always they have that money back, because if not deploy in some points, you will do not understand as fast as you can. Well, start small and simple. It's just repeating. Key points in that understanding, preparation, and modeling. Use use third-party software if needed in that situation, because to get insights is pretty useful. Use auto machine learning because it's pretty fast. It not have a lot of hyperparameter definition, and we can have really fast insights about it. But I don't like to use auto machine learning in develop the model because you don't understand what is happening, and it's really important to understand what you are doing for not bias at the model or do some naive approach. Explore with powerful statistical tool, and here I will talk about three that I prefer. Gross causality is a really powerful tool for time series analysis when you have multiple series. It helps a lot to understand what are the best features to use and to improve. A priori algorithm that is associated to associative rules to identify sequential patterns, like the development of a disease like diabetes that has a lot of steps, and you can in some cases identify what the most probable case for a future development in a patient, and testing with regulatory features. And why that? In some cases, you just use a unsupervised clustering algorithm to help to explore and understand patterns in the data. And this is not the best approach because you have a supposition that what is the most important features, and you have to give the weight to get the correct results. This is more complicated. I can't explain really quickly, but those trees are important tools that I use to get a good model process. And key points to perform well in the evaluation and the deployment. High accuracy does not guarantee a good ROI or a good return. Deploy is needed for validation. And why I say that? Because you can have, as I said, amazing accuracy, but when you deploy it, the operational level do not use it, and your investment will not have a good revenue. And a model could perform bad and bring great results if and there is a good case in fraud detection. When you build a model that the objective is to detect fraud, and every fraud is detected, you can refund some of its costs. But when you deploy it, it do not perform well. It classifies a lot of points that are not fraud as fraud, and you are sad about that. But in the end, you saw that the costs and the revenue increase, the costs reduce and the revenue increase, and you can ask, but why this happened? Well, the implementation of the model did encourage some fraudulent actors, and you can see that there is not because the model performed well, but the action of deploying a model bring some results. There is some other cases, but this is just an example. You have to deploy to see if it will work well or not. And tune the optimum precision versus threshold. This is when you have a low accuracy in the first steps, and you need to make some tests. You do not have to implement your model for every segment of data that you have, but you can implement it in some points that it have pretty sure. Some models have a probabilistic approach that you can choose only the results that it have pretty sure that are correct, and this is important for bring some results. Well, others approach that we have is IBM developed a data science methodology pretty similar to CRISPR-DM. They have some different steps. But why I choose CRISPR-DM over if the methodology of IBM is pretty similar? Because CRISPR-DM is already much utilized for many companies. I believe that will be much easier to understand and absorb than a new methodology. And there are not so much steps that you need to choose in CRISPR-DM to it fit in other methodologies, like the IBM here in the right. And the other methodology is the team data science process from Microsoft. I really like this methodology, but it needs a strong team, a team with high synergy, because it has a lot of steps in parallel. It is complex for a company that is starting to develop machine learning models. But it's a good try when you have a strong and solid team with a good synergy, because it is pretty fast in do complex model quickly. Here we are starting small to get a fast result, then improve that result. And for someone that wants to go deeper, there is an article called CRISPR Med-DM. That is the CRISPR-DM focused in the healthcare area. This can help in some questions and in some points. Well, that's it. Here's a reference material. Thank you very much. Jana, I think we can keep going.
Hello again. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this topic. I really learned a lot about data mining and all these methodologies. Um, well, I think I really like it what you said. Like, and I agree with you. Like many times, just the fact of people working on a team is really really important in communication. I think it happens everywhere, I guess. um uh, Especially working with software and processes, like some people try to go their way
Sure.
and it's hard to conciliate sometimes. But yeah, so what would you recommend to make it easier when working on teams, and especially data that you have to set the same goal, right?
Sure. Um, More than set the same goals, you have to understand how will match, because in the Microsoft methodology, you have to develop something before the model are ready. The engine will develop the pipeline for the deployment before the model are developed, and you have to have a strong communication here to not have crash or bugs in the process.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gustavo, for sharing with our community today. I will say that if you guys that are watching this video and have more questions, just feel free to send us in the chat and we will answer. So yeah, don't forget that June 22nd, we are meeting the Microsoft offices in Burlington, Massachusetts. So if you are close by, just go to www.boshug.com, and we have the Eventbrite and Meetup, so where you can just set your spot. It's free, and we'll have the opportunity to meet in person and do networking, maybe a hug. I would love to. I really miss the in-person events, so that'll be so fun. So please go and save your spot. um, Thank you so much, Gustavo. Thanks for the audience
Thank
that
you.
watching us, and see you in our next meeting.
Okay, bye bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.